The space station Haven 7 floated in the darkness between Earth and Mars like a metal city. Its corridors buzzed with activity as humans and aliens moved past each other in careful politeness. Today was different, though. Today, the future of humanity would be decided. Admiral Sarah Chen walked through the main corridor toward the meeting room. Her uniform was crisp and clean, but her face showed the weight of what was coming. Behind her, 2 guards followed silently. They knew what the aliens wanted. Everyone on the station knew. The meeting room was large and cold. 7 chairs sat around a curved table, each one designed for a different alien species. The Velkari chair looked like it was made of crystal. The Thoktar chair glowed with soft energy. The Murdani chair had a water tank built into it. All 7 seats were filled. Ambassador Zekthara of the Velkari stood as Chen entered. His body was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal that caught the light and threw it around the room. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "Admiral Chen," he said, "thank you for coming. We have important matters to discuss." Chen sat in the human chair. It was simple metal and fabric, nothing fancy like the alien seats. She folded her hands on the table and waited. "Humanity has been part of the galactic community for 30 years now," Zekthara continued. "In that time, your species has grown rapidly, too rapidly." The other aliens nodded. The Thoktar representative, a being of pure energy held together by a containment suit, spoke next. "Your people went from radio signals to faster-than-light travel in less than 200 years. This is not normal. This is dangerous." Chen kept her face blank. "Dangerous to whom?" "To stability," said the Murdani ambassador, her voice bubbling through the water of her tank. "To order, to the way things have always been." The truth was coming out now. Chen had expected this for years. Humanity had advanced too fast for the aliens to feel comfortable. While other species took thousands of years to reach the stars, humans had done it in what seemed like minutes to these ancient civilizations. Zekthara raised one crystal hand. "We have discussed this matter at length. The galactic hegemony has reached a decision about humanity's future. Here it comes," Chen thought. "Humanity will accept technological limitations," Zekthara announced. "Your research into advanced physics will stop. Your military expansion will end. Your colonies will be managed by hegemony advisors." The alien continued speaking, but Chen was no longer listening to the words. She was watching their faces, their body language. The Velkari was confident. The Thoktar was eager. The Murdani looked relieved. They thought this was going to be easy. "Furthermore," Zekthara said, "humanity will provide tribute. Your best scientists, your most skilled engineers, your brightest minds will come to work for the hegemony. This is not negotiable." Chen finally spoke. "And if we refuse?" The crystal being leaned forward. "Then you will face the combined fleets of 7 star-spanning empires. Your species will learn its place through force." Around the table, the other ambassadors nodded. The threat was clear. Submit or die. Chen stood slowly. "You're asking us to give up our freedom, to become slaves. We are offering you a place in the galactic order," the Thoktar said. "A junior place, yes, but better than extinction." "How generous," Chen replied, her voice flat. Zekthara seemed to take this as agreement. "We are pleased you understand. You have 30 standard days to begin implementation. Our fleets will arrive to ensure compliance." Chen looked at each alien face around the table. They were so sure of themselves, so certain that humanity would bow to their demands. They had studied human history, they claimed. They knew humans were violent, but they also knew humans could be reasonable. What they didn't know was that humans had been expecting this conversation for decades. 30 days, Chen repeated. "That's very generous of you." We have no wish for unnecessary bloodshed, the Merdani said. Compliance will benefit everyone. Chen nodded slowly. I'll need to return to Earth to discuss this with our government. This is a big decision. Of course, Zekthera said. We understand. But the timeline is firm. 30 days. The meeting ended with polite handshakes and diplomatic smiles. The aliens seemed pleased with themselves as they left the room. Chen watched them go, her face still showing nothing. When she was alone, Chen activated her private communicator. The device looked like a simple wristwatch, but it connected directly to the most secure military networks in human space. Phoenix Command, came a voice from the device. This is Chen. The birds want the nest. Authorization code Sierra 77. Understood, Admiral. How long do we have? 30 days. There was a pause. That's not much time. It's enough, Chen said. Begin Phase 1 immediately, and send word to the outer colonies. Tell them it's time. She turned off the communicator and looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, 7 alien fleets were preparing to come and force humanity into submission. They thought they understood humans because they had studied human history. They knew about human wars, human violence, human capacity for destruction. But they had missed something important. They saw humans fighting each other and thought that was all humans could do. They didn't understand that when humans fought among themselves, they were practicing. They were learning. They were getting better at the art of war. The aliens thought 30 days was generous. They thought it gave humanity time to prepare for surrender. They were wrong. Chen walked back through the station corridors, past the humans and aliens going about their daily business. None of them knew that everything was about to change. In 30 days, the galaxy would learn something new about humanity. The species that had spent thousands of years fighting each other had finally found something they could all agree on. They didn't like being threatened. Back on Earth, in hidden bunkers deep underground, military commanders received Chen's signal. Across the solar system, asteroid mining stations that weren't really mining stations came online. In the outer darkness beyond Pluto, shipyards that officially didn't exist began their final preparations. The aliens had given humanity 30 days to surrender. Humanity would use those 30 days to get ready for war. Chen smiled for the first time since the meeting. The aliens thought they knew humans. They thought they understood what humans were capable of. Soon they would learn how wrong they were. The galaxy was about to discover why humans had spent so much time fighting each other. It wasn't because they were savage or primitive. It was because they were very, very good at it. 25 days had passed since the meeting on Haven 7. To anyone watching from outside, it looked like humanity was giving up without a fight. The news broadcasts from Earth were full of debates about surrender. Politicians argued in the global assembly about the best way to accept the alien demands. Some called for resistance, but they were shouted down by others who said fighting was hopeless. The tribute ships were being prepared. Large cargo vessels loaded with Earth's most advanced technology sat in orbit, ready to be handed over to the hegemony. Lists of scientists and engineers who would be sent away from Earth circulated through the news networks. The whole thing looked like a defeated species preparing for slavery. Ambassador Zekthara watched the human news feeds from his ship in the Proxima Centauri system. Around him, the combined fleets of the Galactic hegemony waited in formation. 700 ships from 7 different species, all ready to enforce the aliens' will on humanity. The humans are being reasonable, the Velkari ambassador told his fleet commanders. This will be easier than we thought. On the bridge of the hegemony flagship, alien officers from different species worked together to plan the occupation of human space. The Thoktar had energy weapons that could burn through any human shield. The Merdani had bioships that could repair themselves faster than humans could damage them. The other species brought their own advantages. Human technology is primitive, the Thoktar commander said. Their ships are slow and weak. This will be a simple police action. What none of them knew was that the tribute ships heading toward their collection points were not what they appeared to be. Captain Maria Santos stood in the cargo bay of the Isyazma transport ship New Hope. Around her, 200 volunteers checked their equipment one final time. They were dressed as scientists and engineers, carrying data tablets and research equipment. To any alien scanner, they would look exactly like the tribute the hegemony had demanded. Remember, Santos said to her team, we are researchers until the moment we're not. Stay in character until you receive the signal. The volunteers nodded. They had trained for this mission for years. Each one was a soldier, but they were also real scientists and engineers. The technology they carried was real too, just not the kind the aliens expected. Santos looked at her watch. In 3 hours, they would dock with the Hegemony Collection ship. The aliens thought they were getting humanity's best and brightest to work for them. They were right, just not in the way they expected. Meanwhile, in the outer solar system, the real human fleet was moving into position. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Defiance, watching as her ships emerged from behind Pluto. The asteroid mining stations that had hidden the fleet for decades were shutting down their camouflage systems. Fleet status report, Chen ordered. All ships operational, her tactical officer replied. Stealth systems functioning. We're still invisible to long-range sensors. Chen nodded. For 30 years, humanity had been building this fleet in secret. While the aliens thought humans had a few dozen military ships, the truth was very different. 2,000 vessels hung in the darkness beyond Pluto, waiting for the signal to attack. Each ship had been designed specifically to fight the galactic hegemony. Human scientists had studied every alien species for decades, looking for weaknesses. They had found plenty. Status of the colony defenses? Chen asked. All systems ready, came the reply. Every human world is prepared. That was another secret the aliens didn't know about. Every human colony, every space station, every mining outpost had been built with hidden defenses. What looked like peaceful settlements were actually fortresses waiting to be activated. The aliens thought humans built for comfort and efficiency. They were wrong. Humans built for war. Back on the tribute ship New Hope, Captain Santos felt the docking clamps engage with the alien collection vessel. Through the airlock came the sound of Velkari voices, speaking in their musical language about the incoming human cargo. Places, everyone, Santos whispered to her team. The volunteers picked up their research equipment and put on expressions of fear and sadness. To the aliens, they would look like conquered people being forced to serve their new masters. The airlock opened. 3 Velkari guards entered the cargo bay, their crystal bodies gleaming under the lights. Behind them came a Thoktar officer, in his containment suit. Welcome to Hegemony Service, the Thoktar said in accented English. You will find your new positions, educational. Santos stepped forward, playing the role of a frightened scientist. Please, we don't want any trouble. We'll do whatever you ask. The Velkari guards relaxed slightly. These humans seemed properly defeated. What they didn't notice was the way Santos and her team positioned themselves around the cargo bay, or the fact that their research equipment could become weapons with the press of a button, or that every single tribute ship carried similar teams of volunteers. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They thought the tribute ships were filled with weak scientists and engineers. They were actually filled with humanity's most dangerous, soldiers, disguised as the tribute the hegemony had demanded. Across human space, similar scenes were playing out. Tribute ships docked with hegemony vessels. Colonial authorities prepared to welcome alien occupation forces. Mining stations powered. Down their defenses as alien inspectors approached. Everything looked like surrender. But in the hidden command centers buried deep inside each human world, military officers watched countdown timers tick toward 0. On the dark side of Pluto, Admiral Chen's fleet waited for the signal to attack. In the tribute ships, disguised, soldiers prepared to reveal their true nature. The aliens had given humanity 30 days to prepare for surrender. Humanity had used those 30 days to prepare the largest military deception in galactic history. Ambassador Thara looked at the reports coming in from across human space. Everything was proceeding perfectly. The humans were cooperating completely. Within a few more days, humanity would be properly integrated into the galactic hegemony as a junior member species. "Begin moving the fleets into human space," he ordered. "It's time to complete the occupation." 700 alien ships began moving toward Earth and the human colonies. They expected to find a defeated species ready to serve. Instead, they were about to walk into the greatest trap ever set by human military minds. The countdown timers in the hidden command centers reached 0. Admiral Chen received the signal on her flagship. Captain Santos heard the activation code in her earpiece. All across human space, the trap was about to be sprung. The trap sprung at exactly 14:30 Galactic Standard Time. Captain Santos smiled at the confused Velkari guard as her research tablet transformed into a weapon. The device unfolded like a metal flower, revealing a sonic emitter designed specifically to shatter crystal-based life forms. "Surprise," she said, and pressed the trigger. The sound that came from the weapon was perfectly tuned to the resonant frequency of Velkari crystal bodies. The alien guard shattered like glass hitting concrete, his scream cut short as his form exploded into fragments. Around the cargo bay, Santos's team revealed their own hidden weapons. The Thoktar officer's containment suit sparked and failed, as targeted electromagnetic pulses fried its systems. Without the suit, the energy being inside dispersed into harmless light. "Phoenix Team 1, cargo bay secured," Santos reported into her communicator. Beginning ship capture. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on every tribute ship. 200 teams of disguised soldiers revealed themselves simultaneously, capturing the alien vessels that had come to collect humanity's surrender. But the tribute ships were just the beginning. Admiral Chen watched her tactical display as the first reports came in. "All tribute teams report successful capture," her communications officer announced. "Phase 2 is go." Chen smiled grimly. "Signal the fleet. Begin Phase 2. From behind Pluto, 2,000 human warships emerged from hiding. They had been invisible to alien sensors, hidden by technology the galactic hegemony didn't know existed. Now, they moved toward the inner system at speeds that should have been impossible for human vessels. The hegemony fleets approaching Earth detected them too late. "Admiral!" came a panicked voice from the lead Velkari ship. "Unknown vessels approaching at high speed. How did they get so close without detection?" Ambassador Thara stared at his tactical display in confusion. According to all their intelligence, humanity had maybe 50 military ships. The display was showing 2,000 contacts moving toward his fleet. "Are our sensors malfunctioning?" he asked. "No, sir," his tactical officer replied. "All readings confirmed. We are facing a human fleet of unknown size and capability." On the surface of Mars, what looked like a peaceful research station suddenly sprouted weapon arrays from hidden compartments. The atmospheric processors on the human colonies revealed themselves to be massive defense platforms. Mining stations throughout the system activated shields and weapons that had been disguised as industrial equipment. The aliens had walked into a trap that had been 30 years in the making. Commander Thekvar of the Thoktar fleet tried to maintain formation as human ships appeared on all sides. His energy-based vessels should have been superior to anything humanity could build, but the weapons firing at him were unlike anything in the hegemony databases. "Their weapons are phasing through our shields," his weapons officer reported. "How is that possible?" The answer was simple. Humans had spent decades studying Thoktar energy shields, learning exactly how they worked. The weapons firing at them now existed partially in a different dimension, passing through the shields like they weren't there. The Thoktar ships began, dying one by one, their crews unable to understand how human technology could be so advanced. In the Merdani bioship Living Tide, Captain Sekaluna watched in horror as her vessel's living hull began to convulse and die. The humans were firing some kind of biological weapon that turned the ship's own healing abilities against it. "The hull is consuming itself," her bioengineer reported. "The humans have weaponized our own regeneration systems." The bioship, that should have been able to repair any damage, was instead eating itself alive. Its own healing processes turned into a virus that destroyed everything it touched. Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold with satisfaction. Every human weapon had been designed to counter a specific alien advantage. The Velkari's crystal ships shattered under sonic attacks. The Thoktar's energy shields were useless against phase weapons. The Merdani's bioships poisoned themselves with targeted nanoviruses. "Human tactics are working perfectly," her tactical officer reported. "Enemy casualties at 70% and climbing." But it wasn't just the weapons that were destroying the alien fleets. It was the way humans fought. The Galactic Hegemony had developed their military doctrines over thousands of years. Their battles followed ancient, ritualized patterns. Fleets met in open space and traded fire until one side withdrew or surrendered. It was civilized warfare, bound by traditions and honor. Humans didn't fight that way. Human ships used asteroids as cover, hiding behind rocks and striking without warning. They turned planets into weapons, using gravity wells to trap alien vessels. They employed strategies that no civilized species would consider. When a group of Velkari ships tried to retreat behind a moon, human engineers detonated charges they had secretly placed there months ago. The moon exploded, sending fragments through the alien formation at killing speeds. When Thoktar vessels attempted to regroup near a gas giant, human ships emerged from the planet's atmosphere where they had been hiding. No other species would have thought to hide inside a gas giant's crushing atmosphere. When Merdani bioships tried to heal by feeding on spaceborne organisms, they found that humans had poisoned the local ecosystem with targeted toxins designed specifically for their biology. "This is not warfare," Ambassador Zekthara said in horror as he watched his fleets being destroyed. "This is savagery." His tactical officer, a being from a species that prided itself on civilized conduct, could only stare at the display. "They fight without honor, without rules. How do we respond to an enemy that ignores all military tradition?" The answer was simple. They didn't. The Battle of Kepler 442 lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 3 hegemony fleets had been completely destroyed, not defeated, not forced to retreat, but annihilated so completely that their debris formed new ring systems. Around the system's planets, for the first time in their history, the Galactic Hegemony had tasted total defeat. Admiral Chen stood on her bridge, looking at the tactical display showing scattered alien wreckage. Around her, human ships moved through the debris field, making sure no alien vessel had survived. "Casualty report," she ordered. 17 human ships damaged, 3 destroyed," her tactical officer replied. "Enemy casualties, total." Chen nodded. The humans had lost fewer than 20 ships while destroying over 300 alien vessels. It wasn't even close to a fair fight. But then, humans had never believed in fighting fair. "Signal all fleets," Chen ordered. "Phase 3 begins now. Time to take the war to them." Across human space, the story was the same. Every alien fleet that had come to enforce humanity's surrender had been destroyed or captured. Every alien occupation force had been eliminated. Every attempt at compliance enforcement had ended in complete disaster for the hegemony. In the hidden command centers, human officers received new orders. the defense was over. Now came the attack. The aliens had demanded conflict. Humanity was about to show them what real conflict looked like. The galactic hegemony had never lost a war. In 5,000 years of galactic dominance, they had crushed every species that dared to challenge them. Their response to the defeat at human hands was swift and overwhelming. Or it tried to be. High Admiral Kesathara, Supreme Commander of Hegemony Forces, stood in the war room of their greatest military station. Around him, holographic displays showed the full might of 7 civilizations mobilizing for total war. "Every fleet, every ship, every weapon," he commanded. "Humanity must be crushed completely. We cannot allow this defeat to encourage other species to rebel." The assembled commanders nodded. 3,000 ships began moving toward human space, carrying the combined military might of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. It was the largest fleet ever assembled, designed to end human resistance once and for all. What they didn't know was that humans were no longer waiting in their home system to be attacked. Admiral Chen's fleet had already left the solar system. While the aliens gathered their forces for one massive assault, human ships spread out across the galaxy like a virus, striking at targets the hegemony never expected to be threatened. The first sign of trouble came from the Velkari industrial world of Christek Prime. The planet was supposed to be completely safe, protected by defensive satellites and too far from human space to be threatened. Governor Nal Tech was reviewing production reports when his aide burst into the office. "Sir! Human ships in the system! They came out of nowhere!" Naltek stared at his aide in confusion. "That's impossible! Humans don't have the range to reach us here." But the tactical display showed the truth. 50 human vessels were moving through the Christek system, methodically destroying every satellite, every orbital platform, every defensive installation. They moved with precision and speed that seemed impossible for ships that had traveled so far from human space. "How did they get here so fast?" Naltek demanded. The answer was something the hegemony had never considered. While they built bigger and more powerful ships, humans had focused on speed and range. Human vessels could travel twice as far and 3 times as fast as any alien ship, using technology the hegemony didn't even know existed. The attack on Christek Prime lasted 4 hours. When it was over, the planet's industrial capacity had been completely destroyed. The orbital shipyards that had built Velkari vessels for centuries were gone. The crystal cities below were intact, but the planet's ability to support the war effort had been eliminated. The human fleet vanished as quickly as it had appeared, jumping to faster-than-light travel before hegemony reinforcements could arrive. Similar attacks struck across hegemony space. The Thoktar Energy Research Facility at Gamma Centauri went silent. The Merdani bioship breeding grounds in the Vega system were poisoned with targeted viruses. Supply depots, communication arrays, and command centers throughout the galaxy found themselves under attack by human forces that appeared without warning and disappeared before help could arrive. High Admiral Kesathara watched his strategic display with growing horror. Red markers appeared across the map as human forces struck at targets throughout hegemony space. For every attack they stopped, 3 more succeeded. "This is not possible," he said. "How can they be everywhere at once?" His tactical advisor, a Thoktar named Velkan, studied the attack patterns. "They're not fighting to conquer territory, Admiral. They're fighting to destroy our ability to make war." That was exactly right. While the hegemony prepared for massive fleet battles, humans were systematically dismantling the infrastructure that made those fleets possible. No shipyards meant no new ships. No supply depots meant no fuel or ammunition. No communication arrays meant no coordination between different alien forces. But it was worse than just strategic targeting. The way humans fought violated every principle of civilized warfare. When hegemony forces tried to use civilian shipping to supply their fleets, human ships appeared and destroyed the cargo vessels without warning. When alien commanders tried to establish new supply lines, Humans poisoned entire asteroid fields with nanomachines that ate metal. When the hegemony attempted to build hidden bases, human forces found them and destroyed them before they could become operational. Most terrifying of all was how humans treated prisoners. Other species fought wars with rules about surrender and prisoner treatment. Humans didn't take prisoners who might be useful later. They eliminated threats completely. The siege of the Hegemony Command Center at Rigel Base showed the galaxy what human warfare really looked like. The base was supposed to be impregnable. It sat inside an asteroid field, protected by energy shields and defended by 3 full fleets. When human forces arrived, they didn't try to fight their way through the defenses. Instead, they turned the asteroid field into a weapon. Human engineers had spent weeks placing charges throughout the asteroid belt around Rigel Base. When they detonated those charges simultaneously, the entire field became a storm of high-velocity debris, moving at near-light speed. The energy shields that protected the base were designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, not millions of rocks moving at relativistic speeds. The shields failed in minutes. The 3 defensive fleets found themselves trapped in a debris storm that turned their own defensive position into a death trap. Ships that tried to escape were caught by the moving asteroids and destroyed. Ships that stayed in formation were slowly ground to pieces by the constant impacts. When the debris storm finally cleared, Rigel Base was gone. 300 ships and 50,000 alien personnel had been eliminated in a single attack that lasted less than an hour. The message was clear. Humans didn't just fight to win. They fought to make sure their enemies could never threaten them again. As reports of human attacks poured in from across the galaxy, the unity of the galactic hegemony began to crack. The Velkari were the first to break. After losing half their industrial capacity in human raids, their government sent a secret message to Admiral Chen. "We wish to discuss terms of surrender," the message read. "Our war is with the other species, not with humanity." The Thoktar quickly followed. Their energy-based technology was completely vulnerable to human phase weapons, and their fleets were being destroyed faster than they could be replaced. The Merdani held out longer, but even their bioships couldn't adapt fast enough to counter the targeted viruses humans deployed against them. Within 3 months of the first human counterattack, 3 of the 7 hegemony species had surrendered unconditionally. 2 others had retreated to their core systems, hoping isolation would protect them from human forces. Only 2 species continued to fight: the original Velkari hardliners who refused to accept defeat, and the insectoid Zektar who believed their numerical superiority would eventually overwhelm human forces. They were both wrong. High Admiral Kesathera stood in his command center, looking at a strategic display that showed red markers throughout his territory. Half the galaxy was either under human control or had surrendered to human forces. "How did this happen?" he asked his aide. "We outnumbered them 1,000 to 1. The aide, a young Velkari officer, looked at the display with understanding that his superior lacked. "They don't fight wars the way we do," he said quietly. "We fight to show strength, to gain territory, to demonstrate superiority. They fight to eliminate threats, completely." That was the truth the galactic hegemony had learned too late. Humans didn't want to rule the galaxy or establish their own empire. They wanted to make sure no one could ever threaten them again. And they were very good at getting what they wanted. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the final preparations for the assault on the last hegemony strongholds. Around her, the largest human fleet ever assembled prepared for the final battle. "All fleets report ready," her tactical officer announced. Chen nodded. The aliens had demanded conflict, thinking they could force humanity into submission. Instead, they had awakened something they didn't understand. They had forced a peaceful species to remember what they were truly capable of when threatened. "Signal all ships," Chen ordered. "Begin the final assault. Show them what happens when you demand conflict from humanity." The last phase of the war was about to begin. 6 months after Ambassador Zekthara had delivered his ultimatum to humanity, he knelt in the ruins of his crystal palace on Velkari Prime. The beautiful spires that had stood for 10,000 years lay shattered around him, their fragments, reflecting the fires that burned across his homeworld's surface. Above him, human ships blotted out the stars. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Retribution, looking down at the last free world of the galactic hegemony. The irony wasn't lost on her. 6 months ago, she had sat in that meeting room listening to alien demands for humanity's surrender. Now she was deciding the fate of their entire civilization. "Final casualty reports, Admiral," her tactical officer announced. "The Velkari home fleet has been completely destroyed. Zektar resistance in the outer system has ended. All planetary defenses are offline." Chen nodded. The Battle of Velkari Prime had lasted 18 hours. It hadn't been a battle so much as an execution. The combined remnants of 2 alien species against the full might of human military power. The outcome had never been in doubt. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "we're receiving surrender transmissions from the planet's surface. Multiple government officials requesting terms." Chen looked at the tactical display showing the broken world below. Once, Velkari Prime had been the jewel of the galaxy, a planet of crystal cities and advanced technology that had ruled space for millennia. Now it was just another conquered world. "Put the main transmission through," she ordered. The screen flickered to life, showing Ambassador Zekthara in what remained of his command center. The proud crystal being who had once demanded humanity's submission now looked broken and desperate. "Admiral Chen," he said, his voice like wind chimes now sounding more like breaking glass. We wish to discuss terms of surrender." Chen studied the alien who had started this war. "The same terms you offered us 6 months ago?" Zekthara's crystal form dimmed. "Please. Our civilization is ancient. Our culture spans thousands of years. Surely there can be mercy for—" "Mercy?" Chen interrupted. "You came to us with ultimatums. You threatened to destroy our species if we didn't submit. You demanded our children, our scientists, our freedom. What mercy did you offer us?" The alien ambassador was silent for a long moment. We made a mistake. We underestimated your capabilities. If you had known we could fight back, you would have destroyed us immediately," Chen said. "That's what you're saying, isn't it?" Zekthara couldn't answer because they both knew it was true. Chen activated the ship-wide communication system. Her voice went out to every human vessel in the system, and through them to every human world, across the galaxy. 6 months ago, representatives of 7 alien species came to us with demands. They told us to give up our freedom, our children, our future. They said if we refused, they would destroy us. They called it bringing order to the galaxy. She paused, looking at the ruined world below. They were wrong about many things. They thought we were weak because we preferred peace. They thought we were primitive because we were young. They thought we would surrender because we had never faced their combined might. On the surface of Velkari Prime, in the ruins of crystal cities, the remaining aliens listened to the human admiral's words with growing dread. But their greatest mistake was thinking that because we chose not to show our strength, we had none. They confused our restraint for weakness. They mistook our peaceful nature for inability to fight. Chen's voice hardened. Today, the galaxy learns the truth about humanity. We are not a weak species that can be bullied into submission. We are not primitive savages who can be easily conquered. We are the species that turned warfare into an art form through thousands of years of practice. We are the species that builds for war even when we plan for peace. Across the galaxy, on worlds that had surrendered to human forces, alien populations listened to the broadcast with the understanding that their old universe was ending. The galactic hegemony demanded conflict. They insisted on war. They chose to threaten the extinction of our species rather than accept us as equals. So we gave them what they demanded. Chen gestured toward the tactical display showing the destroyed alien fleets. We gave them conflict. We gave them war. We gave them the full measure of human capability when humans decide that something needs to be destroyed. The transmission reached Earth, where crowds gathered in public squares to hear their admiral's words. It reached the human colonies, where families whose children had been threatened by alien ultimatums listened with satisfaction. It reached the furthest human outposts, where settlers who had been marked for alien occupation now knew they were safe. To the species that chose to surrender early, that recognized their mistake and sought peace, we offer a place in the new galactic order. You will be treated with the respect you showed us when you laid down your arms. Chen's expression darkened as she looked directly at Zekathara. But to those who demanded our submission, who threatened our children, who forced us to choose between slavery and war, you receive the fate you chose for us. On Velkari Prime, Zekathara's crystal form began to crack with stress fractures as he realized what was coming. The Velkari government, the Zektar hive mind, and all who supported the ultimatum will face complete dissolution. Your governments will be dismantled. Your military capacity will be eliminated permanently. Your ability to threaten any species will be removed forever. Chen paused, letting the words sink in. This is not revenge. This is prevention. We are ensuring that the species who demanded our destruction can never threaten anyone again. The Admiral closed the communication channel to Zekathara and opened a new one to her fleet commanders. Begin implementation of Protocol 7, she ordered. All Velkari and Zektar military installations are to be completely destroyed. All government structures are to be dismantled. All space-capable technology is to be confiscated or eliminated. Around Velkari Prime, human ships began their work. Not killing the alien populations, but systematically destroying their ability to ever build starships, weapons, or governments again. Within hours, a civilization that had ruled space for millennia was reduced to a pre-industrial state. The same process repeated on every Zektar world. Hive structures that had coordinated interstellar empires were dissolved. Breeding chambers that produced warrior castes were sterilized. The species that had believed their numbers made them. Unstoppable discovered that numbers meant nothing against superior technology and absolute determination. As the last hegemony strongholds fell, Admiral Chen received reports from across the galaxy. The war was over. 7 species that had demanded humanity's submission had been reduced to shadows of their former selves. But the message had been sent to every species in the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, alien governments received the same broadcast. The recordings of human military capability spread through galactic communication networks, showing what happened when humanity was forced to fight. The galaxy learned new words: phase weapons, dimensional warfare, systemic elimination. They learned new concepts: total strategic destruction, infrastructure targeting, technological regression enforcement. Most importantly, they learned a new truth about the species from Earth. Humans were not aggressive. They preferred peace and cooperation. They genuinely wanted to be part of a galactic community based on mutual respect and shared prosperity. But when threatened with extinction, when forced to choose between slavery and war, when given ultimatums by species who mistook kindness for weakness, humans responded without mercy. The age of the galactic hegemony was over. The age of human prominence in galactic affairs had begun, built on the ashes of those who had demanded conflict and received it in full measure. Admiral Chen stood on her bridge, looking out at the stars where human ships now patrolled to ensure peace. The galaxy was learning to respect humanity not because humans demanded it, but because they had proven what happened to those who didn't. The species that had spent millennia fighting each other had finally found something they could agree on. They didn't like being threatened, and when someone threatened them seriously enough, they would respond with everything they had learned. In those millennia of warfare, the aliens had demanded conflict. Humanity had given them exactly what they asked for, and the galaxy would remember for a very long time what that looked like.